I think we are live, everyone. Hello and welcome to the show tonight. I see the chat is just going mad, so I'm going to try and greet everyone as we start. Just checking to see that everything's in order. I think we're in. Sweet. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the stream this evening. Right. There's been so much chat going on in the live chat. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to catch up with everyone. Good evening, Matthew, Smoke Eater, Alpha Mike, Foxtrot, Thomas Burnett. I see Clive, Roch Wrangler is busy this evening. Smoke Eater, well, it's evening this side of the world. It's probably afternoon or morning where you guys are. Sean Patrick O'Jameson, Derek Shear. So many names. Justin Bailey. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone in the world. Hope you're all great. We're going to have an awesome show tonight, and the discussion is going to be on chronographs. So, where to begin? Okay, I'll pull up what I'm wearing this evening just to get the dialogue going. If you can't afford a Paul Newman Daytona, you can't afford a Jaeger-LeCoultre Tribeca, or what's it called? Jaeger-LeCoultre Chronograph, you can always find the Alpha Chronograph. And it's basically a Paul Newman 6239 dial with a 6263 case. But the best part is the bracelet that I'm wearing. I'm getting the inner JB Champion idea. And this bracelet is called a Tessuflex. It's I can honestly say, one of the best mesh bracelets ever made. So just going to say hi to everyone. Hello from Colorado. Bud, welcome. Jamie, Tim, Dan, Blue Shirt Buddha, Jack. Welcome, everyone. This is too cool. I hope to let me know if you can hear me fine. I always get that wrong. Just type 1 in the comments if you can hear everything all good. And I'll add into the chat, and you must look this up if you have a chance. The name of the bracelet is called Tessuflex. And I've just added it now. Okay, good. You can hear me. That's great. Thank you, everyone. So the name of this bracelet is called a Tessuflex, and they were around, I would say, the 60s and the 70s. The company must have gone bankrupt because the finishing, the build on this bracelet is out of this world. I'm zooming right in to show you the detail. Let me just make it full screen for you to have a look at. This has got to be one of the best made mesh bracelets. Now, why do most of us hate mesh bracelets? It's because it pulls hair. That's the biggest downfall of most, shark mesh finishes. It's unbelievable how comfortable it is first, but also just how well it fits the wrist and doesn't pull a single hair. So this is what I'm wearing tonight. I mean, it's by no means Haute Horology, but it is the best value for money manual wind chronograph you can get. And there's a mention about a clasp from Bud. This is all flex. It's all spring loaded. It is just unreal. So it's really comfortable. And if anyone knows about JB Champion, that was a big, is it JB? I think it is. Very important Speedmaster bracelet that was popular back in the day. Love the combo. And check the jersey or the sweater that I'm wearing. That was just by pure coincidence. Definitely wasn't. So really, really sweet little piece. I love wearing it. I mean, the nice thing with these watches is you can just wear the heck out of them. I think I've had this for over 3 years. Has to be one of the most accurate watches I have. Manual wind, column wheel chronograph. It's just too cool. So let me jump to the chat and just say hi, everyone. Yes, Dan, I am left-handed. So I wear all my watches on my right wrist. And it's cool because the crowns don't dig in. There was a question. Since we're talking about chronographs, we will get into that subject. There was a question at the very beginning. I think it was Alpha Mike Foxtrot. He asked about whether he should get a Omega 2254. Let me just try and catch up quickly. Omega 2254 is like one of the ultimate just Milsub inspired pieces. It's got such a cool background. It's a stunning, stunning watch. So he's asking whether he should go for an Omega 2254 or a Tudor Pelagos. And Smoke Eater comments, Planet Ocean 600. And that is a brilliant suggestion. I've been looking at this piece often, and it's basically, it's 39.5 mils, which is the biggest bonus. And it's a real sleeper in the Planet Ocean line. check that out. Since we don't talk about Planet Oceans much, I thought it would be nice to just cover this briefly. And of course, we'll get into chronographs and everything else. But this is a great suggestion by Smoke Eater. I think as a versatile watch, Planet Ocean especially, this watch is 600 meters waterproof. So, I mean, you can use it for any situation. And the size is not ostentatious. It's actually a scaled down Planet Ocean. And the thickness, there's a question from Mountain Standard Time. Thanks for joining. I don't think, well, it doesn't look too thick when we look at it from a side profile. Let's have a look on the wrist. Here's an example. Well, they're not the thinnest, but as we know, coaxials generally are pretty thick. This looks to be the 40 mil, and this looks to be the 43. There is quite a difference between the two. So this thickness is pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean, Omega does make some amazing stuff. I need to do some coverage on the Planet Ocean line. So that was a great suggestion. If Alpha Mike Foxtrot is still watching, great call if you had to pick up one of these pieces. Okay, CQ. Need to have a look at that, Tippy. Thanks for the suggestion. I just need to say hi to everyone else. Steve Camasso, welcome. Jenks, Craig. Oh, geez, I'm having to scroll up. I'm catching up with everyone else. So we're going to be chatting about chronographs today. Try and avoid the dive watches as much as possible. And I'm drinking a Pinotage tonight. I don't know what everyone else is drinking. So just sit back, relax. We're going to be running through a whole series of pieces. Since we're on the subject of Omega, there is one Seamaster that really has caught my attention, and it's the latest chronograph that's just been released, the 2019 chronograph. Of course, it's a love it or hate it thing, but oh, here's a better picture. But how interesting does that piece look? I think if you want the best of both worlds, there's something about a diving chronograph that has quite a nice character. Let's see, Shazbot is drinking coffee. Steve Camasso is drinking scotch. Too cool. Welcome, Hamilton Juan, welcome. Proots, good to see you here. So, going to try and stick on the chronograph theme, but always, if you'd like me to answer a question related to anything you'd like to know, by all means, tag me in the chat at IDGuy, and I'll be able to get to your answer a bit quicker, because the chat tends to like to scroll quite fast, so I miss a few things. So it's quite a conflicting watch. There's a mention from Bud about the helium release valve, and I agree. It's the one thing that's a bit strange, especially with a watch like this. Having 4 different crowns on this watch, I think it would benefit the aesthetic more if it was just a simple chronograph. But I do like the idea of a diving chronograph, and there are lots of them. JLC is probably the best example of a brand that focuses on just some amazing, just master compressors. They've got a huge range of diving chronographs. Anyway, I'm just catching up with these. Lawrence. It also doesn't make sense having a diving chronograph on top of everything else. It'd be interesting to know just how well the chronograph pushers work underwater. Let's have a look at CQ. There's a couple of mentions about it. I don't even know what CQ is, and is that a bad thing? I think I'm a little bit behind. Oh, the new Glashütte. Okay, so the new Glashütte original. Here's a good picture. Going back to dive watches. It's just how we go. We always riff between things. I need to discuss Glashütte a bit more. If I'm not mistaken, this watch is another reissue of one of their vintage pieces. The layout of the dial, the whole baton and numeral layout like this, I can honestly say it doesn't appeal to me much, but I'm sure everyone has their own taste. I think the layout looks a little bit, I don't know how best to describe it. I wouldn't say clumsy, but it's a bit difficult to see at a glance. It's cool that they've added a faux patina. Really dig the bezel. Like the fact that they've integrated the numerals with the track all the way through. It's nice and clean. Let's try and find a face-up version of the watch to look at. So this is a brand new release, I think. I remember Tim Mosso doing a review of this recently. So let's just catching up with these chats here. We've got Steve Camasso. Interesting pushers, yeah. I don't think they are screw-down pushers. I think they are just standard, easy to activate. Cedar Canoe, welcome from Sweden. Dan Radke, we're going to be looking at the JLC Polaris. Sure, we'll be looking at that just now. Plans for Zodiac Super Seawolf video. Cheetown, I have it ready. Just to let you know, I'm sure you've noticed that the format of the page has changed a little bit lately because I've been doing a lot more audio videos recently. And that's mainly because I have been studying for an exam that's coming up. I also have a big interview this week, and it's probably one of the biggest interviews of my career. So I'm really trying to like balance everything out. If anyone has some good advice on doing well in interviews, shoot me an email, please. The link should be in the description of this video if you have any suggestions. That's a gorgeous looking chrono. Thanks for the suggestion, Dan. So Cheetown, thank you for the super chat. The Super Seawolf video is like half done. It's saved, it's all ready to go. It's just the added 6 hours that need to go into preparing the images and everything else. But I will get to it. I promise you I will get to it. Zodiac needs a lot more coverage in the space. And I'm just catching up with what else is going on here. Ray, Amiga Rep said the Chrono 600-meter diver pushes are sealed and can be used. That's what they seem to be doing extremely well with. If I won't pull it up again. The fact that the helium release valve, all of these segments have pushers and gaskets and everything to help with avoiding water contamination. It's great. Okay, try and keep up with everything else. We've got Seiko 62 MAS, very much so. Very good suggestion. Thank you, Jeremiah. This case design especially has that original Seiko, and Seiko took the design from Blancpain, the Blancpain bathyscaphe. I was the first watch that invented that shape, or was a big proponent. We have a question about the Breitling Cosmonaut. I will get to that just now, Ivan. Dan Henry 1962. I'll have a look at that just now. Tag Heuer. Oh my goodness, we're getting so many. So just focusing on the JLC. JLC has a very good eye for detail. And this combination especially, it's just typical Polaris in the way that they've balanced the 12 and the 6. Love the usage of the batons around the dial. This you seldom see, where batons are actually well spaced. The fact that the subdials aren't getting in the way or encroaching on the batons, it's very interesting. It's a very intelligent way of using space correctly. And you can see that the space has actually been occupied well on the piece. Here it is on the wrist, nice blue dial. I don't know if I'm much of a fan of the matte / sunburst finish, but it's cool. And I think the watch looks better on a strap, personally. Gives it a bit more punch. Okay. Always oversell yourself at job interviews. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I really don't know. It's a big one, and I'm very excited for it. I'm going to be speaking to some big lead managers on Wednesday, so I've got to prepare myself mentally for it. JLC Master Chrono, good example. Let's pull that up quick. And this stream is going to be going on for a good 2 hours or so. So by all means, if I don't get to your questions, keep mentioning it. Keep mentioning them. Don't overfill the page with the suggestions, but I will get to them. The sector dials. I'm still a bit undecided with the sector dial JLCs, but the chrono works a lot better than the date version, in my humble opinion. I think the balance is great. Love the skeleton syringe hands. It's a brilliant combo. The blue strap mixed with the blue numerals. It's so simple, right? It has that nice classical feel to it. It's so nice and clean. I'm sure this is a very popular seller. I'm sure lots of people are keen on it. And of course, when you're dealing with JLC, you're getting such a quality piece at the end of the day. It's so nice and understated too. I mean, it really doesn't shout out loud. When you have it in the sunlight, you'd get this nice radial brushed effect in the light. I'm sure you have it looks like there's some surrounds around the subdials too. I just love it. It's so nice and clean. And what's great is the way the subdials have 30 minutes on the right and the 12 hours on the left. It's much cleaner. I like the idea of only, but then at the same time, when you're dealing with sub-second, you kind of want sub-seconds at the same time. So I know I'm one of the sticklers who likes to see the movement working. I don't know about everyone else. So it's just nice and clean. I like the 30-minute counter instead of 60. And then it'll just jump half and half along the 12 hour, sorry. Nice and clean. Date complication. There are so many options going around. I see a comment from Eric Bell. Welcome to the show. Tim, M Technic, welcome to the show. It's Thomas Burnett, Blancpain Air Command. Read my mind. I spoke about it last week, and it's just beautiful. And since we're on this subject, I like to compare it directly against the new Navitimer reissue. Let's just pull that up. And of course, the Navitimer is going to be a lot more easy to access, since there are lots of them. But apparently the Air Commando only has 50 pieces made, and they're limited to 50. This is a flyback chronograph with a timing bezel. It's just so practical. It's what I wanted to actually do, talking about chronographs, was just what really constitutes a great chronograph. You want something that is easy to read, that is easy to use, that is practical, because nowadays, who uses chronographs for, timing lap times and everything else? So then technically we should like pulsometers, what's the word? Pulsation dials. Lange & Söhne 1815, we'll be jumping to that just now. Let's see. Got Jimmy. I bet I will nail the interview. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's always strange. Interviews, you never know. I'm dealing with the same people. I'm dealing with industrial designers, so we all tend to speak the same kind of language. We all are very approachable and outgoing and stuff, so have that, but it should be a lot of fun. Talk about the Zenith A384, absolutely. SDU, I'll be looking at that. There's just so many suggestions. Okay, we're going to be here all night, so we're going to get to them. So I really dig this. I think the combination of the faux patina, here's an original, the patina, the balance, the numerals, and the fact that the dial is not busy. And I think that's where my big reservation is with the new Navitimer. That is the cover photo of this video. It's beautiful. It's one of those, I just love the idea that they've incorporated the original logo back. And I love faux patina, love needle hands. There's been talk about just the way the hands are about the same length, so it's difficult to read. Love the faux patina. But then you have the slide rule, and you have to ask yourself, do you really need a slide rule on a watch? Would it not be better if you had just a standard timing bezel, just a standard, tachymeter inside? Oh, it's the Air Command. Wow, sorry, Thomas, you were right. I call it the Air Commando. Made that mistake. It's a gorgeous watch. I mean, more companies need to do reissues. They are stunning. Okay, I'm catching up with these chats. I'm missing a few. Justin Bailey. Let's see. Yeah, Tippy, unobtainable. This Air Commando is going to be impossible to get. And it's a flyback chronograph. It's real Haute Horology. Yes, we will be looking at the Breguet Type 20 blue shirt. Absolutely. Fortis, yes. Parnas Daytona. I love Parnas Daytonas. Just a simple Seiko VK63. Nothing better than a quartz chrono sometimes. It's cool. Mechanical quartz is a very, very good movement. Montoya's, of course, Justin Bailey, good suggestion. There's so many watches affiliated to racing drivers. Just the Schumacher brand of Speedmasters, for example, with those racing dials. Those are really cool. Robert, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. So Cheetown, mention your wristwatch channel. Yeah, that's an option. It would be hilarious if they actually watch the show. It'll be awesome, actually. Are these two, I think this is an original and this is the reissue. How amazing is that? The way I can tell that this is you probably won't be able to see on your screens, but there are some scratches on the glass. How amazing is that these two watches are, the one on the left is the reissue, the one on the right is the original. They look bang on perfect. But it's a Breitling, yeah. I saw Smoke Eater earlier talking about the Vacheron Constantine. I think it's a second generation overseas chronograph. We will have a look at that. Let's see what else is going on. Roger Dubuis, we're looking at those. We can do that just now. The Le Mans Flyback Monaco. Okay, I've got to try and sense myself around here. Cool chronos in the new movie Ford vs Ferrari, Mountain Standard Time. Really cool video. I mean, cool movie. Haven't seen it yet, but I know the history, and it's it's quite a novel story, all about underdogs and all the rest. The Ford GT40 is a real legend. And it's such a beautiful looking car. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. For those of you who don't know, the Ford GT40, which I'll just pull up just for fun, the reason why they call it 40 is because it is 40 inches off the ground from the base to the top. And of course, it won't give me a high-res image. Hold on a sec. Nice Golf livery. I mean, it's just, you can't get better than a Ford GT40 with that livery on it. It's just gorgeous. And I think the number 6 was the winning car, if I'm not mistaken. What a time. We're not going to talk about cars. We're going to stick to watches, because if we go on tangents, we will be here all night. Okay. So if the interviewer was Archie, Eric Bell, I think we'd get on great, actually. You know, I'm an easy guy to please. I try to be as open as I can. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So I just love this Air Command. I think this is one of the best reissues of a chronograph I've seen lately. I think it is stunning. But getting back, there was a suggestion, SJU, talking about too hard to read. That's one of the things about chronographs that is the biggest issue, is just legibility. It's so important. And that's why if we jump to the Zenith A384, not the 86, I think this as a template is something well worth studying. The panda aesthetic, the whole contrast, it's a stunning look. It's simple, it's understated, it's formal, and that's what you want for a chronograph. You want it to be something that's under the radar. There's so many attributes to chronographs that you need to like take into account. I always get drawn back to this watch because I just love the balance, love the size. Anyway, just keeping up. My Captain Hans, thank you for joining. Porsche 917. Oh no, we can't talk about cars. I love the 917 as well. But the generation that had the proper downforce at the back. Steve McQueen. We can pull up a Monaco just for fun. The Monaco is a strange beast. I mean, it's really one of those watches that it is the most 70s watch of them all. It really is a time capsule in itself. Carl F. Bucherer chrono. Thanks, Dan. I promise I will keep up with these, and I will just keep reminding me through the stream. I'm still trying to find my footing. We are now, 23 minutes into the stream. I'm going to try and find my footing and get the session going. Just warming up. I'm just riffing off some of the suggestions. Jamie Y, thank you for the super chat. Here's to all night. Yeah, I don't think that'll be happening, but that was just a throwaway line from me. Anyway, I really like the black on black. I think it's quite a stunning combo, and I'm guessing this is a reissue with a bit of a patina dial. I haven't actually seen this version before. Very nice. But Heuer Monaco, great history. I did a video about it quite a while ago. And it's got a lot of history behind it. Lots of conflict between it and the Zenith Al Primero, as we all know. Omega DC Weiser, hello, good evening. Just trying to catch up. Marcus, we've got a welcome to the show. All sorts of new names. I'm going to actually refresh the chat because it looks like my laptop is struggling. There we go. I can now see. I now know how many people are watching. Great. Longines Big Eye. Absolutely. Let's have a look at that. It is, and what they've done with this, which is great, is the different style of the subdials. I don't understand why more brands don't play around with this approach, where you have a large subdial here on the right, sorry, sub-seconds, hours. You have to ask yourself, is it easy enough to tell the minutes on this large subdial? It's stunning though. I love the contrast. The readability is great on this because we have loomed up everything. You know, you can see everything nice and clearly. Sinn from Mr. Marcus. Oh, it's awesome. One Sinn that's really caught my attention. There's always talk about the Sinn 104 being the go-to watch. Let me just pull it up. Now, of course, I don't know what kind of category this watch falls into, because it has 300 meters of water resistance, but it's also supposed to be a pilot's watch. It's a little bit of a conflict. The Sinn 103, on the other hand, I think I actually typed it in by accident on one day. And what a stunning piece. Let's have a look at the version on the bracelet. Is that good? That's a bit better, I think. The Sinn 103 really has that combination of, it looks like a real aviation piece, you know? Sinn 157, James, I'll have a look at that now. I'm just scrolling back up in the chat to catch up. Farah Berninia. I don't know anything about that name, James, but we can have a look at that in a second. Jean-Richard Paramount. We're going to be going wild. Like, I'm sure I'm going to be losing my head with all the different names and everything else. I didn't know that Oris made a chronograph. Tennessee Mike. Let's have a look at that. Interested in knowing your thoughts about the Sinn 103. Really like the sub-dial layout. It's just nicely balanced. We have date windows. This is a grayed out version. Not bad. Not bad. But I still like, I think black on black looks so good. Just the contrast between the parts. And I'm going to make it my mission tonight to pull up large images. It's so frustrating having these low res images. Anyone can explain what the AR is? I think that's for armed forces of some kind, a German special armed forces team. There are so many suggestions on watches. I'm just going to have to like drop my finger on one of them. The Sinn 157, that was a good suggestion. Let's have a look at that. Courtesy of James. Which going into the 70s now. That's very cool. I must say, I am by no means a watch dictionary. So I might be behind on my catching up on pieces. So this has this very 70s kind of aesthetic with regards to its red highlights. I don't know, it's interesting, but I think let's see what happens. What happens with the colors is, you know, certain colors are supposed to dictate the chronograph function. So technically, but then that's 24-hour time. So actually it does work pretty well. And this being a GMT function, I'm guessing. Thanks for the suggestion, James. Getting back into this. Let's see, Sinn 356. Geez, if we go on to Sinn, I'll probably be here all night. And it's one brand that I really haven't investigated. You know, there's a limit to focus. Yeah, that's very cool. Nice size. Yeah, Sinn makes some awesome stuff. And I think the contrast, you just know it is a Sinn watch by looking at the stark black on white contrast. You just know. Is this Watch Gecko? Yes, Watch Gecko does some good stuff. If everyone's looking for some interesting reviews on straps and everything else, Watch Gecko does some really cool stuff on their page. Let me just pull this up, get back to the chat. Okay. Geez, there are so many comments going on. You guys need to slow down on the comments. I can't read all of this. And have dialogues in the comments too. So like, I can't just grab. There's so many suggestions. Okay, Matthew, welcome. Matthew was the first guy on the show tonight. Oris 65 chrono. Oh, that's quite cool. I've always thought of Oris as the 65 as the dive watch, but geez, it looks pretty nice as a chronograph. Not so sure about the plots. Again, we have the sort of Tudor Black Bay conflict, where you have this Black Bay chronograph that's trying to be a diver, but it's also trying to be a chronograph. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, I was talking about the Seamaster 300 earlier, which is also a fancy chronograph. Nice and clean though. I think the circles do play very well with the sub-dials. It's nice and clean, easy to read. Okay, I'm having to scroll up every time because there are so many comments. Heuer Camaro, that's a good suggestion. Speedy Mark II. Geez, there are so many. How am I going to keep up with all of these? I'm going to have to really slow down and catch up with everyone. Okay, there was a question about opinion on Basel World 2020. So I will have a look at that. Andreas, welcome to the show. I will talk through that while looking at some more references. Let's see what else we could look at. There are so many suggestions coming in at once. Faux patina getting old. I don't know. I think it has a place still. There's something about it that always pulls me in. But again, it's used everywhere. Jumping back to the Longines Big Eye, I think it looks great. I need an assistant, Steve. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. The Heuer Montreal, the Heuer Camaro. Okay, let's start with the Heuer Camaro. If I'm not mistaken, I'm just guessing here. I think it's a bullhead. Please let me guess it's right. Is it a bullhead chronograph? No, it's not. But it does have a cushion case. Okay, that was my next thought. Yeah, I'm so backwards with my watches in most cases. Where's a good reference? There's a good picture. So you have to ask yourself, what were they thinking with this? Were they trying to capitalize on the Panerai appreciation back then? I'm guessing this was a late 60s, 70s inspired piece. And why would they call it a Camaro with a Italian-styled case? You know, more than anything else. Anyway, Breguet Type 20. We will jump onto that blue shirt. Good idea. And the Heuer Montreal. So how's everyone doing? I mean, geez, how's this week been for everyone? It's funny how weeks change. Last week was a busy one for me. This one was a bit quieter. The Joseph Otavia, there was a suggestion. I mean, that is just gorgeous. Really gorgeous. Beads of Rice bracelet. That's a stunning watch. Who was the one who mentioned it? Tippy mentioned it. Great looking watch. No, it's too cool. So there's currently 107 people watching. Welcome everyone who's not in the chat. It's great to have you here tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I really love the Otavia. I think any watch that has a panda aesthetic, it really falls into a different category because it has, I mean, the blue. This is the Joseph Otavia. And fun fact, this was the watch that Steve McQueen should have been wearing in Le Mans, 1970. But since Heuer had just released the Monaco, they wanted to bring some traction to the brand. But Joseph Fur, who was also driving a 917 Porsche, this was his, or Porsche, this was his watch. And gorgeous, love the blue. Something about the panda aesthetic that is really captivating. It has, I mean, even this is just, it's so clean. These are all reissues from Tag. Can't call them Heuer anymore. But there's just something that grabs us about this whole black on white. Contrast, I think, is so important. Yeah, it's too cool. Okay, I'm just going to try and catch up with everything else. Breguet Type 20 from Thomas Burnett. Going to have a look. Marty, you're welcome to the show. Brandon Marks, welcome. I'm sure I haven't. Nasty Vinyl Kun 70, welcome to the show. I love your name. It's one of the most entertaining names on this page. Okay, the Breguet Type 20, only watch, 2019. Wow, let's have a look. Oh, cool. You're kidding me. They only made one of these. That's a shame, you know. Brilliant suggestion, Thomas. Thank you so much. What a stunner. I mean, that is just gorgeous. So this was another one of the watches that premiered at Only Watch this year. And alongside our record-setting Patek that we spoke about last week. That is stunning. Love the chocolate, love the finish. Why can't more, I mean, again, it's down to the whole patina look. It is getting on some people's nerves, I think. And Cedar Canoe, I see Rodania Geometer, Rodania. Let's do that. We might recognize the design of it a bit. That was such a controversial video. What does that remind you of? I'll tell you what it reminds you of. And after doing a bit more research, I woke up to the fact that my so-called unveiling of this Speedmaster, the whole story was I made a video about Omega copying Rodinia's design. I mean, I think this was a 1954 release. This looks almost identical to the 1957 original Speedmaster that came out. And the truth is, all of these companies back then were also using dial manufacturers, except, you know, they weren't in-house dial designs. So, of course, they just grabbed this because they thought it would be good. But actually, Rodania was the first company to use this format on their chronographs. It's very hard to find images. Bazamu, that's his name on Instagram. He has a whole collection of crazy watches. But how much does that look like a Speedmaster? You know, penis and balls included at the top, as some people have mentioned before. Panerai PAM 615. I think if we had to go into Panerai and all the chronographs they have, geez, it'll be mad. When is the Panerai Verde Militaire video coming? I've got it saved. It'll be coming out next week, DD. I haven't actually been making any videos over the last few days, so I am going to cover it. Just jumping back to our Breguet. Love that onion crown. The way the crown and the bezel tie together. That's one thing that I really like on the Rolex Cellini line, actually. Just that combination of the two. There's a relationship there. Why more brands can't incorporate this old school engine turned bezel? You know, it's just cool. Nasty vinyl, love him or hate him, there's no middle ground. Yeah, that's it. There isn't. And I don't know about the size of this piece, but it is a cool looking dial. I think the combo is great. But again, it just looks like a reissue of a classic, you know. Okay, I'm going to jump up a little bit and try and catch up with some of these. Yeah. So it's Dr. BBC. Welcome to the show, Doc. I've always wondered, because I have a bit of a medical background. My family has quite a bit of a medical background. I've always wondered where you practice, because you can't be a chiropractor or an optician at Costco. I'm pretty sure. I took a wild guess the one night, and I said that you were a plastic surgeon. And I'm going to stick to that claim, but I might be completely wrong. It's good to guess. No, I've had a bit of background. I actually work shadowed. I wanted to be in the medical profession. I've seen open heart surgeries, plastic surgeries. I love it. I'd love to design for the medical field. I think it's just too cool. Okay, I'm catching up with everything else. It's amazing that I can talk while, you know, pulling up images. We've got Squale mentioning. I don't know. We'll be having a look at that just now, maybe. Let's see what else there is. We're going blue shirt. Okay, let's get the Breguet Type 20 as well. This is a gorgeous looking watch. I love it. And if we jump to the Type 20, this watch we know. Why is it giving me only the vintage pieces? XX. What a joke. You have to actually type in XX and not 20. Doesn't realize. This watch, we can all agree that Archie Luxury pretty much premiered. He has been so important in JLC Reversos, Submariners. There are so many watches that he's promoted on the page, and it's amazing. His influence with regards to Patek, Breguet, JLC Reverso, Omega Speedmaster. Think about the watches that he's, I mean, that's another thing. He is the OG of YouTube with regards to watches in general, and he really has introduced so many pieces to us. Let's have a look at, I'm trying to catch up. I want to see what Doc BBC, IDGuy is a wise guy, Doc BBC. So I guess plastic surgeon, but I might be completely wrong. I hear about lawsuits often that's happening with you, so kind of put two and two together. But I've also seen a lot of plastic surgery. I freaking love it. Open head surgery, ear replacement. I've seen thumbs being replaced, plastic surgery. It's an amazing field. I love it. There's so many variants in the Breguet Type 20 line. Look how cool that font is on that date complication. It's a gorgeous watch. They aren't cheap, of course. They are very, very much in demand, and they appeal to a lot of people. They're great. Breguet has to have a history and a story behind it. I will cover all of that in the future. Let's see. Man on the moon. We should have screw and pushers. You know, it's one thing, that's the sad part, because this watch really is the everyday go-to watch for anyone. It really is the watch that practically everyone in our community gravitates towards. And there are some channels that are just dedicated to one watch, and this has been the one watch that this person's owned for years. It's a pity that they don't have screw-down, you know, pushers and screw-down crowns. But then at the same time, you want to keep that old school aesthetic. I love the fact that they still have acrylic inserts, acrylic bezels, acrylic dials and everything else. Dials, glass. My phone is buzzing next to me here, so I'm getting put off. I'm guessing this is the sapphire sandwich. There's just something so characteristic about the watch. One thing that's really important that I find so great is the way the crown has been integrated into the case. I don't understand why more brands, this is one thing that Omega really thrives with, is the way that they've integrated the crown with the case. The fact that it's recessed inside. The case itself acts as the crown guard, you know? It's too cool. Just having to jump up. I'm missing a lot of these chat. Longines Big Eye. We had a look at that earlier, Danny. Thank you for joining. We discussed that earlier, about, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. Let's see. What else is going? More type 20 questions. Horn removal surgery. Yeah. Plastic surgery is such a cool field. I'm not talking so much about the boob jobs and all of that. I like the serious medical stuff. The best I saw was watching an ear be rebuilt by a guy who had it pulled off by a pit bull. And the process that went into it, I mean, it's just unbelievable. The way, what they can do with skin grafts and everything nowadays, it's amazing. It's an art form, you know. Doc BBC, thank you for the super chat. Looks even more impressive in the flesh. I'm sure it does, yeah. It's gorgeous. I don't know, the one thing that pulls me away from it is the polished bezel. I don't know, a bit of a conflict. But actually, as a usable, wearable watch, this just has it. It has the legibility, the balance. It actually, I didn't even realize, has the Longines Big Eye aesthetic. All the sub-dials are different, so your eye can look around it very easily. You can break up the dial. You have numerals in between, so it's easy to read at a glance. Luminova, simple. Doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, jumping. Rolex 6239, 517G. Okay, are we going to get to the Haute Horology stuff now? Okay, it's got to crack my neck and get into it. So, Speedmaster, great watch. Rhodonia Geometer is the first piece. Of all the Speedmasters, I think this Panda version really appeals to me. Where's a nice high-res image? Ugh. Anyway, I think the Panda versions really are something to look into. They're gorgeous pieces. Okay, let's get into the heavy-hitting stuff, and let's compare the two watches that are often compared. We have the Lange 1815 Chrono. Oh, it's just a beautiful watch. It's so simple. It's so out of our reach, but it's just so beautiful. And then we have the Patek 5170, which are the two real pieces that are always brought up. Doesn't matter what color gold you use. I mean, geez, anything is good on this watch. I love the white gold does look great. It's so toned down and simple. So the Lange 1815, what needs to be said about this piece? Let's get a good picture on the wrist. The blue dial, the balance, having the sub-dials actually pushed slightly offset and below really cleans the watch up. It makes, that is the unique trademark for the piece. And okay, there was a mention here. Cheetown says I'm in the 5170 camp. Type 1 if you're keen on the 1815. Type 2 if you're keen on the 5170. And let's have a look. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on the subject. While I pull off my jersey in the room because it's now getting really hot in here. The heating's just kicked on. Cheetown 2. So we have 1 and 2. 1. So the Lange's winning. 12. Helps. It's a beautiful watch. The 1815 really is something. I think anyone who is a, oh geez, I'm going to jump to the movement. It's stunning. Personally, I can't say that I'm a chronograph guy. I much prefer the sports watches, the dive watches, the GMTs, but if there was a chronograph to choose as a one and only chronograph, 1815 or the 5170, oh, they are just sublime watches. You just cannot go wrong with them. Let's see where it's a better picture. It's a joke. The highest, you know, the better the watch, the harder it is to find really, really good pictures often because, you know, they're so difficult for people to buy. Breguet numerals. Interesting how it's so German. I think that's what I like so much is that this is so German in the way it's been approached with regards to the typeface used. And then we jump over to the Patek and we have more French, Swiss influence, you know, with the Breguet. Simple pencil-styled hands. Beautiful. Pulsation dial. I mean, pulsation dials are much more practical than, this is also a pulsation dial, excuse me. Yeah, I'm a little bit backwards in my chronographs. I can't tell you about all of the details with regards to beat rates. I do know column wheels and cam wheels. So let's just see how many we have. 2s, we have 3s. That's cool. So Smoke Eater's kind of on the fence. Lots of 1s. Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool. Both of them are just stunning pieces. Jean-Claude Beaver, welcome. Zonda, thank you for the comments. Nice to see you. Tennessee Mike, Caliber 3135, welcome to the show. Gibson's Dog, we have some new people. Mark Kelly, Wristwatch Experience. I'm trying to catch up with everyone's name. Okay, so these two pieces, it is so difficult to choose between the two, but I don't know, it's all down to, I like to think about when I buy a watch, I want some substance to what I'm buying. And you have to ask yourself, do you want a watch that has proper set numerals? Or do you want a watch that has painted numerals? And I'm a fan of numerals that have actually been set into the dial. Oh, it's just beautiful. It's stunning. And then if we just go to the stupid complications, we have the 5370. There's a mention about it. Oh, wow. So this is a flyback, I'm guessing. That's just beautiful. Split second, excuse me. So it's a split second chronograph. Nice and clean. There's something so characteristic about having that pusher on the crown. It's so clean. It's very, very pretty. Everyone's saying Lange. You know, and I've heard a lot of chat about this subject. And since we are at the 1815, let's do datograph. Is it a datograph in the 1815 line? I don't know. Let's just pull up. I'll scrap the 1815 aspect and just pull up datograph. Oh, look at that movement. It's such a different world. It's just a 3D world in itself. So the datograph, I still prefer the cleanliness of the 1815 personally. But it's interesting because everyone talks about buying a Lange one day as this aspirational piece, but it's always talk. You know, it's putting the money down at the end of the day that really matters. But I mean, we're here to dream. That's the whole point of this page. One Lange that really appeals to me is the Lumen, which I'll open up just now. Interesting. So more interesting, and everyone seems to be more interested in the Lange at the moment. There's a big debate. 6263, Hans, we'll be getting to that just now. Resale value kills the Lange zone. Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing. You can't go wrong with Patek, and it's that is a divide that many people struggle with. It's, I don't know, at the same time, oh, love that vintage style of how they incorporate the strap. At the same time, you're buying these watches because these are super grail aspirational pieces. Oof, I think this watch just is stunning. When would you ever use a split timer? No idea. Who cares? How many people actually use chronographs for their intended function? No idea. Taking another sip of the Pinotage this evening. Oh, it's gorgeous. Love, and I think black on black with this watch just looks the business. Here we have 3 versions. I don't know why these 3 are compared. Got a tourbillon, got a more vintage Patek with a day date, or day month, and a date and subdial, proper little perpetual calendar. The black on black just sells it. It's called it Black Beauty. Really is something else. Out of this world. Okay. I'm just going to catch up with some of these. 6263, Tippy. Okay, let's do it. 6239. Okay, well, we're just going to have to jump around. Just before that, the Datograph Lumen is a really cool piece. I saw this and thought to myself, why aren't more brands doing this? It's a genius idea. How cool. What kind of talking point is that? Going to bed at night and saying, hey, you want to know what the time is? And it's just like, boom, you got the, I mean, look at it. Everything is loomed up. We have the actual hand that's fully loomed. So you can use the chronograph in the dark for the telemeter scale, or the tachymeter, excuse me. And then you have, it's beautiful. And the way the date has been integrated inside, where you can actually see what's going on behind the scenes. It's just out of this world. It's that blend of classic and modern together. There it is in the dark. I mean, look at that thing. What you wear that somewhere. You wear that out to a candle-lit dinner. Everyone will be going, what is that thing? You know, doesn't look like your dive watch. It's just, I don't know, fully glowing chronograph that no one else can compete with. It's stunning. And I've mentioned this a few times that more skeletonized watches need to incorporate this transparent dial, because it is just so clean. It allows you to see the movement while at the same time read the watch, which is so important. And it's awesome. So of the Datograph line, I think the Lumen is just one of those. And without the glow, I mean, look at it. That looks like a minute repeater, but I might be mistaken. So gorgeous watch. I mean, I think it was released last year. It's just nuts. I think it looks out of this world. Classic, modern, vintage. It's got it all in one package. And just look at that movement. You buy Lange for the movements. You buy Patek for resale, but also it's beautiful. So understated. Love it. Okay. So lots of talk about Paul Newman. So we're going to look at the 6239 first, which is the earlier edition. There's so much hype about these pieces. I was actually watching a video the other day about just where the Daytona was as early as the 80s. There was just no demand for these pieces at all, in the slightest. That has changed so drastically. And who buys for resale? Well, with Patek and Rolex BS, it seems like most people are just out for good bucks to buy and sell. It's sad. I mean, these watches, these top of the line pieces, you want to buy for yourself. This is the kind of watch that you just end your collecting with. It's absolutely stunning. Anyway, switching back to these Daytonas, there's so many references, but the demand for these has just gone silly. It's quite sad in a way, because we can appreciate them for what they are, what they've done, but at the same time, they're just steel sports watches and undersized, 37 mils, all the rest. And then there was a question about the 6263, which I think is a prettier model. And it all depends on which one you want. Do you want the big eye? Do you want the RCO? Oh, geez, there's so many references. I really like this combination. I think the white on the scale on the inside is nice and clean, matches up with the symmetry, nice contrast. We don't have to dive too deep into Daytona territory because it's been done to death. There's so many other watches to cover as well. But I think the black on black is gorgeous with the red highlight. But again, just to emphasize, it's quite a sad state that they are just in such high demand now that these watches are quite literally worth $200,000 a piece. And just factor that in. The price of a house, you're buying these watches. And it deters people from wearing them. So it's an issue. Makes you quite sad. I mean, you buy these watches to enjoy. You buy a watch like this to enjoy. And odds are you will be wearing this watch. But then you jump to the vintage pieces and then suddenly that's out the window because of their collectability and resale. It's almost like people pick up Rolex nowadays. There was a really good comment in one of my videos this week that Rolex is now just bought for the sake of being a safe queen, and Tudor has been given the limelight as the sports tool functioning watch. I love this two-tone. I think it's too cool. Not much of a fan of the snowflake hand. If I would want to change anything, we give it pencil hands on both sides. And the all black edition, it's really cool. I like it. Some watches look great in PVD. Yeah, Reed, exactly. I don't know if you're mentioning Hence Alpha, SL, Javril, all these brands. I mean, the watch I'm wearing tonight, I'll just pull it up quickly, just for everyone new here tonight. I'm wearing this little Alpha chronograph. I've had it for 3 years. Unbelievable accuracy. It's got everything you would want. Acrylic crystal, steel case, Tessuflex bracelet. Look up Tessuflex. This is the best mesh bracelet that has ever been made. Simply for the fact that it never pulls hairs. The finish and the detail on this bracelet is out of this world. It is so good. No clasp. It's a fully stretched bracelet. And I think the company actually went out of business, bankrupt, because these bracelets are probably so expensive to make. This bracelet is quite literally, 50 years old, and it's still running like an absolute dream. Oh, it's beautiful. Love it. It would look so good on a Speedmaster. So there's mentioning about the PVD looking quite cheap. Yeah, that's the thing. And it's also down to, we don't know how well they are with regards to scratch resistance and tolerances. PVDing is a really hard thing to do. I think it falls, I might be wrong, I haven't covered it fully, but it does fall into the same kind of realm as electroplating. So it's very dependent on just how good the material is to be used. So I'm going to try and catch up. There's a Sinn U1 is the PVD killer. You can have a look at that. Rich Buddy Rich, welcome to the show. Those vintage pieces should cost 200,000. The high costs they demand will also demand are well taken care of for future generations by their caretaker. It's true. I mean, these watches nowadays, if I just jump back to, I'll just jump back to vintage Daytona. Actually, no, let's pull up, what's it called? Speedmaster Ultraman, that's the name. Boom. I saw a great video, Antiques Roadshow. It was just out of chance that I saw it. And this guy, basically in the Navy, traveling through Hong Kong in 1968 or 70 or somewhere. And he picked up one of these, the original Ultraman. And his mind blew when he heard that the watch is so rare. Of course, this is the reissue. I just thought I'd pull this up instead of another Daytona. But Rich Buddy is right, because these watches are antiques, and I don't think anyone should dispute that at all. When we have something that is 50 plus years old, it is essentially an antique and should be treated as such. I mean, we know that there are antiques in every area, whether it's weapons, whether it's cars, and it's not like someone buys a 250 GTO Ferrari and freaking floors it around, every day. So they need to be cared for and respected. These Omega Speedmasters have just gone through the roof, all because of that damn orange hand. And it's a great looking combo. But geez, the demand for this watch is going to be, it's going to be the super grail at the end of the day, because there were only 1,000 or so of these pieces made. So compare that to Daytonas and so many other references. This watch, if anyone has one of these pieces, lock it up, keep it tight for another 20 years. It'll be amazing. So just saying hi to everyone. Shane, welcome to the show. Rich Buddy, I don't know if I said hi to you, but welcome to the show. It's great having you. Evan, Gibson's dog, I said hi. Gospel 700. Oh, okay. Going to try and catch up with some of these comments and see if there are any other suggestions. So really put some ideas out that you think would be interesting for the audience to have a look at. The way I try to word this dialogue tonight was, what are your favorite chronograph watches? So just tag me at IDGuy and say what your favorite chronograph is and maybe a reason why. I can read it out loud and we can get some more ideas going through. Variety is the spice, and the whole idea behind this page, especially the live stream, is to just get community input, because that's what allows this to riff and we can just jump between watches. Cartier Santos 2019. Do they have a Santos chronograph? I'll have a look at that. Don't know if they do. So the all black PVD, it's pretty cool. Still not a fan of that hand. I've played around with this watch a few times. Sometimes in my videos, I do redesigns, and I always redesign this hand to just a standard pencil hand, and it changes the look quite a lot. So let's see another suggestion. I saw something from Thomas Burnett. The A384 is a great watch, Tippy. Cartier Santos. Do they make a chronograph? They do, 2019. What have I missed? Let's have a look. Oh, wow. Is it a single pusher chronograph? Jeez, that's new. I'm learning something. Let's get a bigger picture up. Time and Tide. They have some good stuff. Their coverage is great. I don't know so much about the two-tone on such a large piece. I think the Cartier Santos is a real icon. And I think, I don't know, there's so many variants in between as well. The knockdown bull, the skeleton Santos really appeals to me. It looks stunning. A really cool looking piece. There was this mention by Thomas Burnett saying IWC Portuguese chrono, silver dial. And let's have a look at that. IWC Portuguese needs a lot of coverage from me. It's another watch that I've been neglecting. So just the standard silver dial. Oh, it's too cool. But the size, I think, is a bit of an issue. I think the size of the watch should be, I don't know, the watch is about 44 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. I do love the balance. It's typically German in the way it's been laid out. Very, very Schaffhausen, very Bauhaus in the way it's been approached. Very classical. Shane, Pleasance, SA expat. Are you the SA expat? Or are we talking about me here? But yeah, welcome. It's great to have an expat on the show. We can speak the same lingo. Blancpain Air Command. Yeah, it's too cool. Andreas, I love it. It's such a gorgeous looking piece. Rich Buddy, the 1039 bracelet on those vintage Amigas are the favorite. And that's something we could actually cover. If I just pull up a vintage Speedy again. More brands. I'll just pull up another Ultraman video again. Image. Sorry, I'm riffing. I don't understand why more brands don't incorporate bracelets that actually have a hollow styled center link, because conformity is so important. You want the watch to really, find itself around your wrist. You don't want it to sit there. You actually want it to hug the wrist. This way that the end link articulates. Lots of brands do it nowadays. I think Omega should go back to it. It's a very good suggestion. Their modern line of pieces should have these articulating end links, because it makes the experience more comfortable. And now that you can actually use solid end links, it's comfortable, easy. That's great. Love it on the brown strap. Doesn't it look cool? Okay, UG Nina Rindt. What is that? Universal Genève. Let's have a look at that, since we're going on to a few obscure pieces. Let's see. I'll just type in Nina Rindt, Universal Genève. So compacts, that's cool. Oh, wow, that is gorgeous. Thank you for the suggestion. Who was that? Nick Landers. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Gorgeous looking piece. Again, it's down to the panda aesthetic. And we have a more late 60s, again, Bazamu. Great page. Go have a look at his page. Look at his Instagram. One of his favorite pieces is a 1016 Explorer. He's on Instagram and all sorts. Love the 68, 70s styled subdials with those hands. Panda aesthetic, can't go wrong. You just cannot go wrong with these pieces. There's a nice big high res. It's gorgeous. And what's nice is the way that the hands almost integrate with the dial. They kind of disappear on the dial when they're not being used. Very nice and clean. Great suggestion. Thank you for that. Rolex Money Green Daytona. Thoughts, Justin Bailey. I'm guessing that's a green dial with a gold. Let's see. I'm guessing that's a green dial with a gold case. Yeah. If you're Irish, I think it would be great. Actually, I'm South African, so technically this is my color. If you're Australian, if there's a couple of sports teams, there's quite a lot of sports teams in the world that this watch appeals to. I don't know, it's a very niche watch. It does have a pull. I'm someone who's more interested. I don't know, the gold on green, it's a little bit too much. I think solid gold with a black dial is just that perfect amount of in your face, but also subtle, I think green on gold is it's very vibrant. I'm sure there has been talk about this watch becoming a big collectible, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's great. There's also another version. There's a white gold. It's a blue face. Right? It's a white gold blue face. And I think these two watches in tandem have been coming out recently. And apparently these are all getting, thanks to John Mayer, I'll say, John Mayer, Zonda. As I was saying that, I saw your comment. John Mayer was the one who really tried to promote these watches on Hodinkey's Talking Watches. It's kind of irritating. These guys are basically dictating the market and pushing certain people to the brands, like Rainbow Daytonas and all these pieces. So, yeah. Just keeping up with the chat. Hate gold and green. It looks like Christmas. Forbin Kloss, that's an interesting response. I have a similar feeling. It's a little bit too much in your face. There needs to be some kind of balance. This, on the other hand, this is something. And then if we were to jump to another watch, I mean, this watch reminds me of One Piece, and One Piece alone. Can anyone guess what I'm going to jump to next? Just type it in the comments. I'm sure anyone who knows me well enough. Thank you, Rich Buddy. I really appreciate that. Do I have a super chat? Cheetown, thank you. I missed it. Cheetown, SBG C219. Let's have a look at the Grand Seiko. We'll have a look at that now. So just in the chat, if you can comment what you think I'm going to be jumping onto after looking at this piece, I'd be interested. If you've been following my page long enough, I think you'll probably know. SBGC219, Grand Seiko. Oh, geez, is this like a GMT plus? So I haven't discussed this watch much. I haven't really put much thought into it, honestly. Is it a full ceramic case? I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, I think this was designed around the Nissan Skyline, Nissan, however you want to say it. And it's too much. It is just too much. Grand Seiko is so good with the subtlety. I mean, we look at the case design of this piece. It's just, it's so aggressive. You don't really know what it's trying to be. And then the hands and everything else. I don't see, geez, of course. I don't see much of a balance between, the hands being rose gold, the blue dial. This gauge is quite 70s. I don't know, it's very conflicting in that way. The actual design language of the watch looks all over the show. We can tell immediately that they are inspired by instrument clusters in cars, just by looking at the gauge. It looks like a speedometer, power reserve indicator. And the case looks much more futuristic than these little subdials. And then having the all full gold, it's a bit too much. But then we jump to another version. These are looking better. This is probably what you suggested, Cheetown, and I missed it. These are looking a bit better. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either ceramic or it's PVD. I think it's ceramic. And it was released in tandem with Nissan. These are better. I would suggest these over the gold and blue and whatever that last one was. But I don't know. Grand Seiko should be for simplicity. I don't think they need to be complex. Anyway, VC overseas. Well, and G, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not very difficult to see why I would jump to VC after that. I mean, it's a gorgeous looking combo. This combo just looks so good. The fact that it's white gold is just another one up. VC overseas, I chat about it every single time. And let's jump to the chronograph. I mean, you can't go wrong with this piece. And there was I think there's someone in the chat who was talking about, there's Tim handling one on a rubber strap. Where's a better image? I like looking at renders because renders seem to give you a better, like a more full description of the piece. That's the thing. In the design world, when it comes to rendering, you want to be able to describe everything visually without the need of any text. So what I really like about this piece, just the dial is gorgeous. It's nice and simple, perfect everyday wearer. One of the guys on this page, Vaughn, has one of these and wears this often. I really, really enjoy, I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well in this, the column wheel representing the Maltese cross. I think it's so nice and clean. This looks like a compass almost, the way they've balanced out the actual rotor. Gorgeous looking watch. Nice and simple. It's not too in your face. And the fact that you can dress it down with straps, excellent value proposition. And the big date, that's another thing. Let's try and get one of those up. I don't know the reference. Well, here's an example. That was easy enough. Photo bucket, my favorite. Let's see, Gen 2. Is it the Gen 2? I can never get it right. No. We need a full, here we go. This is a nice dial. Look at that color. It's like a gray brown finish. Nice and clean. The big date really does have an appeal. It has that a higher quality watchmaking sort of appeal. No interest in Granny Seiko. Thank you, Shane. I should original Capital Edition Tippy. We'll have a look at that just now. What do I think of the AP reference 265? No. Okay, Rich Buddy's suggestion. I'm not going to be able to get that. Okay, I'm going to try. just hold on to your socks, everyone. This is going to be, it's a Royal Oak chronograph. And just to narrow everything down, the 26315 ST. I mean, really, they can't make it easier. Oh, yes. This, if I had the funds right now in my back pocket, this would be one of the top contenders for me. And the reason why is I have this great suggestion, by the way, Rich. I would absolutely say go for this piece. I think the way they've brought the proportions down on this model, great call. It's gone from 42 down to 38, I think. It's being advertised as a lady's watch, which I don't understand. I mean, a lot of the times it's seen on a lady's wrist. It is a stunning, stunning piece. And I'll actually just have a little talk about it quickly. I'm just going to scroll up on the chat so I can keep up. I have a very big love-hate relationship with AP, and I hope to bring out the video for my discussion about it very soon. The write-up's practically finished, just need to edit the pictures. It's all to do with the design and where it sits. It is so difficult to really clarify where AP sits. Is it modern? Is it retro? It is in fact like a combination of both. Some days I look at it and I think, oh, it's so ugly. Other days I look at it and think it's just absolutely brilliant the way they approached it. And I think for a designer, you want that love-hate relationship. It's like a perfect marriage. And yeah, I think for me, if I could get a Royal Oak, I would be getting a Royal Oak chronograph. This would be the one. Love the striking blue contrast. It's a gorgeous watch, nice and understated. And of course, we know APs generally wear 2 millimeters larger than their designated size. So this watch wears like a 40 mil piece, even though it's 38. Oh, look at that thing. Look at that thing. It's beautiful. Love the contrast. Love the balance. Anyway, let's get to another piece. I'm going to jump back to the Daytona. I've missed a lot of chats, I'm sure, but I'm going to catch up. So, Rich Buddy, go for it. You're not going to make a mistake with that piece. It looks beautiful. Centigraph, Heuer Monaco. Oh, geez. I'm just scrolling back up. Pogue. I'll have a look at the Seiko Pogue just now. It's a good idea. Patek Philippe, 170 double T. Let's have a look at that. I'd like to look at some more chronographs. This is good. I'm glad we're keeping on the chronograph story today. Patek chronograph, trying to make it simple. And it's the 5975, right? Right. I have never seen this watch before. Never seen this watch before. How old is this piece? It's there to commemorate the older references. So it has an actual telemeter and a pulsation dial. That is really cool. And a tachymeter. So that's what they've done. It's not actually very interesting. So it's a multi-scale chronograph. I've never seen one of these before. I don't know about you guys. Black on black is the way to go, man. So nice and clean. A multi-scale chronograph. We have a telemeter for sound. So in case the artillery fire is coming away, you can help yourself out. Pulsation dial. This is basically your old school activity tracker or your actual tachymeter. So if you're deciding to count down your quarter mile, then by all means, or your mile that you travel, sorry. No subdials, no running seconds. That is a very conflicting watch. I've never seen one of these before. Thank you so much for the suggestion. And that was by Double T. Strangest looking chronograph I have seen in the Patek family. And of course, this was to celebrate the anniversary. We can see the stepped lugs. They're trying to keep to that traditional stance. Beautiful squared off pushes. What do you guys think of that? That is the strangest chronograph I've ever seen. I mean, it's like you want to make a chronograph as unusable as possible. Geez. But then you buy a watch like this, you're not exactly using it to tell time. Very, very strange. Great suggestion. Okay, I'm missing a lot of chats, so I'm going to try and catch up with everything else. There's a mention about a Zenith Star King. Geez. Carl Mima, welcome to the show. I don't think I've seen any chats from you. Welcome. Chats, year or two old. The Zenith Star King. I'll have a look at that now. I'm just trying to keep up. The chat likes to jump around. Let's have a pull of that. Strange looking watch. Never seen it before. I do like this the way they've done these graduations inside, it almost looks like a balance spring, don't you think? And I'm just highlighting it here with the mouse. It kind of looks like the balance. Very cool. Okay, so Zenith Star King. Let's pull that up and have a look. What is that? Hold on a second. Striking 10th. Oops. Oh, geez. El Primero striking 10th. Now, what is this about? Is this an A386 piece? I'm guessing. 1/10 of a second. So, oh, what does that mean? I've just lost it. I've just lost my train of thought. It looks very much like an A386, you know, the more modern vintage sort of blend between the two. Oh, it's probably got a 36,000 beat rate, right? So that seconds hand is absolutely clean. Oh no, it doesn't. That seconds hand really motors around the dial, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool. I mean, you can't ever go wrong with an El Primero. It's got such a classic form around it. And in the El Primero video that I did, what did I call it? The King of Chronographs. I speak about just how well these colors work together. The red, gray, charcoal, blue. There is this strange approach to how they did this, and they really pulled it off well. Also love how the subdials are integrated together in this group. It's a nice cluster. What about Clive Watchranger's Offshore Navy chronograph? Thank you, Justin Bailey. I'll have a look at that now. I'm just catching up with other suggestions. Bulgari Octo Finissimo chronograph. Okay, let's just pull a whole range of these watches up quick. Octo Finissimo chronograph. I think the chronograph is a nicer looking piece than the standard one, personally. Love the balance. And we can chat about that for a bit, because I did a video about Bulgari, however you want to say it. Curtis, thank you for joining. I hope you got my email. The Sinn 903 as an affordable alternative. Let's have a look at that. And there was a few more suggestions. There was a question about the Royal Oak Navy. It's offshore. Love the blue. Let's get it up full screen. I think the offshore is a little bit, as we know, the offshore is quite the brash alternative to the standard Royal Oak. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces up at the moment, and I will catch up with everything else. I just wish I could pause the chat because I'm missing so much. Okay, Octo Finissimo chronograph. I kind of slated this watch and gave it quite a rev in the first video that I did about it. And I don't know, I just think it's too technical for what it is. It is, I mean, it's beautiful. You can't deny the movement and the finishing and everything. I love the finishing. It's great. The idea that it's not highly reflective really tones the watch down and makes it simple. But you see all of these facets on the edge of the case. I don't know. It's just the purist in me. Of course, this watch is so unique in the way it presents itself. But the purist in me says it's just too busy for the sake of being busy. And they call it the Octo Finissimo. And the only way you can really tell that it's Octo is because of these 8 sides inside the bezel. That's pretty much on the outside as well. I don't know. I'm sure the watch wears like a cuff. I'd be interested in knowing. I'm sure some of you own one of these pieces. The watch doesn't wear like a bracelet. It's very much like the AP in the way it wears, almost like you're wearing a bangle and not a bracelet. Okay, so that's the Octo Finissimo chronograph. It's a cool looking watch. I much prefer it to the standard piece, personally. Love the layout of the subdials, so nice and clean. But it's just the over-engineering that doesn't really grab me. I mean, all these facets. It looks like you gave this watch to a CAD technician and they just dropped it in and just went Boolean difference and just cut all these bits and pieces out. That's a word we use in the design scheme. Looking at the Sinn, very nice suggestion, Curtis. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, Curtis is a airline pilot, and I get a nice high-res image. Come on, hold on a sec, guys. Sorry. Curtis he's an industrial designer, qualified, but he's also an airline pilot, and he's got quite a history with flying. So he loves his pilot watches. He has a very, I think, an 80s GMT Pepsi. It looks beautiful. This is a great alternative. Thank you for the suggestion. Does this actually rotate the bezel on the inside? I'd be interested in knowing that with this this crown. Nice and clean. And absolutely, I mean, Sinn makes great stuff. Again, I said at the beginning, what makes Sinn so cool is the way they use contrast, the way they use highlights with their batons, the black on white. It looks great, really simple, easy to read. One of the most important things with any chronograph, you want it to be legible. You want it to be easy to read at a glance. Love the little accent on the second hand and around the bezel. Nice highlights. It looks great. So thumbs up for me as an alternative to the Navy timer. Absolutely. And now we jump to Clive's Royal Oak Navy. I don't know if this is the one. I don't know. The offshore, the story behind the offshore is, and what I'll do is I'll just pull up a standard Royal Oak just for everyone else. So the way they integrated the watch, oh geez, I love the panda. I think the panda on this watch is so cool. Let's just pull up a blue dial. That's quite nice. So this was more like the original. And of course, the watches have become more modern and the designs have changed slightly. The offshore was I think a 21-year-old designer that came in the 90s to try and liven up the brand for a more modern generation. And it looks cool. I mean, it has very Panerai inspired finish to it. And I think that the inspiration that was taken for this piece, Panerai was one of the influences with the big numerals. Love the way they've integrated the date at the bottom. The overall balance is great. And the way you can, I mean, this is just true offshore in the way it presents itself, because you can just tell, I think this is the watch that Clive has, if I'm not mistaken. The way you can tell it's offshore is the way the subdials have been arranged and just the huge numerals. But then the size and everything else, it's all down to personal preference. If you have a larger wrist, this watch is great. But for the more purist approach, like what I would prefer, I like the idea of a Royal Oak exemplifying that bracelet. The bracelet is what makes the Royal Oak what it is. It's one of those curiosity watches that will continue to fascinate, disgust, baffle me for the rest of my life. And I think that is the perfect blend. Another thing, I was chatting to Victor a while ago. We all know Victor. And just talking about rubber straps and everything else. Watches on rubber straps, perfect ploy with the idea of people returning to get them replaced. I mean, geez, your watches need to go in for service as it is, but now you're getting straps replaced because the rubber is so soft and volatile to breakage. Okay, I've missed a lot of chats. I'm going to try and catch up to everyone and just leave this guy on the screen. Seiko Jujaro, you can have a look at that just now. So it's too cool. Thank you for all the comments, everyone. I'm trying to keep up with everything, and I've missed a lot. Breitling 806, we spoke about that earlier. Seiko Jujaro. Okay, this watch is a very popular watch on another channel. So Jujaro was a automotive designer. I don't actually know the full history about the character, but I know he was big in his cars. And this watch, this watch was used in Alien, if I'm not mistaken. Royal Oak. Shane, that's a good line. Thank you. So this watch was used in Alien, and it was the main character watch for the film. I don't know which one, Alien 2, I think it was. And I don't really get it. The pushes where they're placed, I mean, that has got to be so uncomfortable to wear. If anyone has one of these, I'd like to know. Who was the one who suggested? Mr. Marcus, thank you for the suggestion on this piece. But Jujaro did other pieces too. I mean, here's an offset dial, very funky. I mean, what was that about? Check, it almost looks like a piece of armor, the way it's been formed around the case. The 70s and the 60s, the late 60s was a weird time for watches. I mean, let's be real. PVD, guaranteed you could probably scratch this off with your fingernail, like without question. Let's Alien Ridley's watch here. Okay, Proots, I'm going to get to you. Trying to catch up with everything else. AP, some more talking. Yeah, so talking about the Royal Oak versus the Navy, I'm always drawn towards the Royal Oak. I don't know, just with regards to this watch does look more modern. I don't know, it's very conflicting. This watch does look more modern for now, but the question is, will it age as well as the standard Royal Oak chrono, and I don't think it will. I get a feeling of the 90s and the early 2000s when I look at this watch, like a funky G-Shock, where I look at this and I see something a lot more smooth. Anyway, I'm going to catch up with everything else. Zenith Defy 21. We spoke about Zenith last weekend, I think. So this watch has Jean-Claude Biver's DNA all over it, and there are lots of watches in the range. I think the one that really appeals to me in the Zenith video that I did, I spoke about this guy, and it's very nice. I think it was an anniversary tribute to the original A384 El Primero, and it really looks cool. I think of all the Defies, I think this one really has a nice character because it keeps the same case lines, and it's nice and clean. And then we jump to the more typical Zenith Defy. Jumping back to why chronographs, what makes a good chronograph, legibility is important. And that's where this watch bugs me. You can't read the thing to save your life unless you're tilting it at an angle, you know? Just catching up with other comments. Yeah, Rich Buddy, it is a very strange and cool looking Seiko. Very, very set for its time period. Raymond Wheel has a Jimi Hendrix chrono. Oh, wow. Okay, Sean, thank you for that. I'm going to have a look at that right now because I'm a big fan of Hendrix. So this is cool. Nice. I mean, it's a skeleton chrono. I do like the way they do these sub-seconds with that spinning little propeller, but really it's so difficult to read at a glance. It's just a mass of complication, and for a chronograph, you want it to be quick and easy to look at. Raymond Wheel and Hendrix. This is news to me. I didn't know there was such a thing as a Hendrix watch. Where do I look? Freelancer, Jimi Hendrix. Oh, I see. Okay. Let me try and get a better picture for everyone. It's always the case. The more obscure the watch, the harder it is to find really good images. Is that the Hendrix piece? Can't be. That's the Les Paul. I see what they're doing. Okay. Anyone who has a guitar nut would kind of make sense of what's going on with the watches. If I can just find a good image. This can't be the best image to use. Come on. There has to be something better. What about... This is on Twitter. Great. So this is the authentic Hendrix. Who was the one who suggested this? Sean Patrick Jameson. Thank you for that. So I'm just going to look at this piece for a second. So if anyone doesn't know, if anyone is new to guitars or doesn't know much about electric guitars, what they've tried to do here is blend the idea of the strings with the Fender Stratocaster open single coil pickups. So we have this. Oh, that is so strange. And then they try to blend. Okay, and this is the pattern that he used for his actual guitar straps. They even have a Stratocaster headstock on the side. That is so bizarre. Thank you for the suggestion. I mean, this is just so weird. What was the thinking behind this? And I guess Raymond Wheel has a whole, I mean, there's a Bob Marley edition. I don't know. Let's just stick to Hendrix. Music is my religion, trademark. Okay, this has got to be one of the strangest watches I've seen so far. It's bizarre. Okay, I'm going to catch up. Thomas Burnett, Salmon Dial. Am I missing a few? Fortis Pilot. God, it's a problem. When I sit on one watch, I lose a lot of chats. So I'm going to get through. Hi from India. Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you for joining us. Jean-Claude Biver's DNA all over it. Yeah, Matt. That's what I say every time. I mean, that's his signature watch. You know, Raymond Wheel, Les Paul, same kind of approach again. We have the supposedly humbucker pickups. That looks kind of strange. Okay. Going to catch up with another watch. Vacheron, I'm just going to type in the reference, 47111 Salmon Dial. I'm not very attuned with oh, cool. I'm not very attuned with chronographs in most states. I'm very much a more sports oriented person. So this is great. Is this a reissue with the teardrop lugs? It might be. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Salmon Dial. It's just such a character to itself. Really stands out, you know. You have white, you have black, brown dials, blue. Salmon Dial is just like, it's a punch, a real punch. Even 13 Brandy and Cokes won't help the Seiko Kakumi. I won't even look at that one. So that was interesting. Yeah, thank you, Foreman and Sean, for the mention of the Hendrix. I love Hendrix. He taught me how to play guitar, that guy. Absolutely love his stuff. He was such a pioneer of guitar back then. He really was. Like, some musicians were just so ahead of their time that you can literally say they were out of this world. And a guy like Hendrix, he was someone sent from another planet to play guitar. Unbelievable. Okay, so if you guys could please tag me at IDGuy with your suggestion, and try not to give me too many suggestions. I'll try and catch up because I've missed a lot. Let's talk about Les Pauls. Perregaux. Let's have a look, Tippy. Thank you for the suggestion. Really gorgeous. I'm not so much of a fan of the teardrop lug. I think personally, that is beautiful though. It really is. Has a nice stance. I don't know if this is a reissue. There's just someone mentioned it in the chats, if you know. These teardrop lugs date the watch a little bit too much for me, where I'd much prefer, I'm probably going to really butcher this name, Corne de Vache. I got it right. I think the Corne de Vache lugs are something else in the Vacheron line. That, to me, is a more characteristic vintage appeal set. These lugs are also very dated and old school, but I think they have a better stance and just a nice presence. It almost looks like you have a scarab on your wrist. If you know what a scarab looks like, the dung beetle, basically. Has that dung beetle sort of leg layout. It's so nice and clean. It gives the watch so much character. I mean, straight lugs are cool and all, but you want just some punch. And I think with such a simple case, these teardrops jumping out also looks like horns, like an antelope's horns. It looks cool. And I shouldn't have mentioned horns because there's going to be all kinds of jokes on the page. So let's talk about Dan Henry. I haven't been following any of these Microbrands, really. It's I was big on Microbrands a while back, but I really haven't been following them. And I don't know the story. I do know that they use a Seiko VK63 mechanical quartz. It's a brilliant movement, it really is. A mechanical quartz has got to be one of the greatest usable movements nowadays for a good price. But you can buy mechanical quartz watches for very small amount of money. And I don't know what kind of markup Dan Henry's putting on these pieces, but I think it's quite a lot. I don't know. It just looks like a typical, I don't know what it's trying to replicate. It looks like it's using, that looks almost identical to the Speedmaster bezel. And the dial itself, so many watches have used this format before. You can't go wrong with a Panda aesthetic. I do like the font used on the subdials, but it doesn't look very inspired. I think that's the best way I can explain it. Because this is a micro brand and these are new watches on the market. You want something to really hook you. This doesn't really hook me. If the size was maybe a bit different, I would probably appreciate it more. I do like the Panda finish. I think that is very nice and clean. So, catching up with everything else. Carl F. Bucherer. Oh, geez, and now the chat jumps up. Good, you're French. Carl Horns. Thank you, Andreas. So, Jean-Richard Paramount. Scarabs. Okay, V175 Mecha Quartz. Thank you for that. Straton Speciale. Let's have a look at that one. Geez, if you guys can tag me in the suggestions, that would really be helpful because I struggle to keep up. Straton. I've never heard of that before in my life. Is that the way you spell it? Is that the way you spell it? Oh, cool. Okay, this kind of, okay, I recognize this. I've seen this piece before. So this watch has been promoted and pushed quite a lot on YouTube. And this is something a lot more interesting because it is very much late 60s, 70s inspired. You compare this to the Dan Henry, and you can just see how much thought and attention has been put into a watch like this, as opposed to the Dan Henry is just a basic circular case. This has the television case, beautiful tachymeter around the bezel, brown sunburst, love the race. You can just see it's a racing-inspired watch from the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, just the crown. Look at that crown. It's actually been rifled. Let's try and find a bigger picture to everyone to look. Oh, geez. We'll get there. I'm not so much of a fan of the blue and orange. It's supposed to be reminiscent of Gulf colors, I'm sure. If you can look at that crown and see that it actually has been turned to look like it's been rifled, it's cool. It's funky, it's retro, it's for a certain target audience. It's not the kind of watch that everyone would be pulled towards. And it was on Kickstarter. So for me, I think this is a much more interesting watch just with regards to its finish. Come on, get a good picture, dude. Gonna get there. So yeah, I think this the brown on brown looks great. Nice television style, nice orange. Now I've got 5 suggestions. Okay, I'm going to pull these up. So we got the Laureato chronograph. Thank you, Tippy, for that suggestion. Tippy's got some good suggestions, everyone. Laureato chronograph. If I can grab it. All of these names. Okay, GP Laureato, yes, we looked at this a couple of times. Really, really dig the bezel and everything. We can look at that now. Pull up another watch. I'm just going to jump to the suggestions. Arnold and Son. Wow. And Son. CTB. I think this is working a little bit better. And then there's another suggestion on another piece, and that is the Stratton chronograph. I think I've just covered that. No? I don't know. I'm struggling to keep up, but we'll get there. Okay. So we got some more 70s inspired pieces. I dig this. Okay, we can get to all of these. These are some nice pieces. Another Kickstarter brand. I really like brands that are able to bring something different to the table. So the Laureato, the Girard-Perregaux Laureato has that panda aesthetic that I really like. And I don't know much about the history of the line and where they sit next to AP and the Royal Oak. I immediately get the idea of a Royal Oak panda when I see this piece, but at the same time, I do like the simplicity of the way that the bezel has been executed without screws. It's nice and clean. Don't know so much about the color. I'm immediately drawn to the panda over everything. The bracelet has a nice integration. It's got an integrated case, so it's quite clean. It's nice, like the texture and the finishing on it. Very 60s, 70s inspired by the way it presents itself. So it's cool. Also like the blue highlights. I'm guessing they're heat blued batons. I'm going to catch up with the chats now. I'm just going to jump between these pieces and I'm going to try and hang on these a bit less. So we have a bit of an up-down chronograph here. Splits, is this a split second? I'm pretty sure. I don't know much about Arnold and Son. It's one of those brands that I haven't covered. And let's see, it has a 60-minute chronograph by the looks of things with a split second counter. It's very bizarre. This watch to me is very peculiar. I don't know how you can have a chronograph that has such a small dial layout itself. Okay, I'm going to jump down to the comments. There's so many comments that I'm missing, guys, so I'm going to try my best to keep up with everyone. I'm going to have to jump between a few. Shane, what did you miss? I don't know. As always, I'm jumping between stuff. But I love the fact that we're sticking to chronographs tonight. It's awesome. Roger Dubuis, Homage H40 mono pusher. I feel like I'm going to struggle finding one of those. It'll be nice if you can give me the actual name of the brand and I'll be able to look it up easily. I don't really want to be wasting time browsing through and then having to like find the exact piece. The Zenith TV chronograph. Oh, wow. Yeah, geez. Now we're talking about something really, really, really old school. And if we jump back to Straton, which is another brand. So another Kickstarter piece. Love that racing style bezel. That's the one thing, the two elements that pull me in. That racing style bezel, nice and clean. And then this layout of the subdials. I think more brands should look at using these subdial layouts because it looks like the dashboard of a car. It has such a good effect. And very 70s. I mean, you can't get a more 70s piece than this, right? It's mad. Okay, jumping back to these. Rolex Submariner, date or no date? My thoughts, Jeff, 114060, any day of the week. For a modern version, I say no date is the way to go, simply because it's easy. It's what the Submariner always has been. It's just classic. In that way, if you're the more purist, you want the no date conversion because it looks so nice and clean, easy to use. On the other hand, if we go to the earlier vintage version, I know I'm jumping away from chronographs for a second, but nice to talk about a sub once in a while. Love that. These 5-digit references are really good. If you can find a great one, I recommend it. Nice and clean. And then the date versions, 116610, which is another modern variant. I don't know, date complications, it breaks up the lines of the watch. This is just my stupid, pedantic, purist thoughts. I think the date complication on the sub breaks it up. If we know that the 1680 was the watch that introduced it, and that was during the 70s, prior to that, this watch has always been known as the Submariner without the date. So I don't know, it's conflicting. For an everyday wearing watch, and if you're someone who likes to see the dates on your pieces, by all means, go for it. But for my taste, I've always been someone who prefers the purest approach of just the simple no date configuration. Okay, getting back to the chats. There's so many comments coming in. I'm missing so much. A Bell 1911 Farah hand-wound chronos. I think I'm going to try and back off the Microbrands because we'll be here literally all night. And now there are so many questions. A Lunga and Zona triple split. Okay, let's look at that quick since we're going mad. Just for giggles. I mean, it's just nuts. This watch was premiered and was touted as one of the top tier Haute Horology pieces when it was released, if I'm not mistaken. I think it broke all sorts of records just for the fact of them being a brand that has made just such, I mean, it's just wrong. It's sickening. I mean, this is just pornography in the watch world. Okay. I think it was a bad idea me saying, mention my name when you, oh, geez. I'm going to miss a lot of these, but I'm going to try everyone because now my name is just popping up in orange everywhere. The Zenith TV chronograph. Can you get a more 70s inspired watch? I don't think so. Do like the wings on the shoulders for the pushers. I think that's quite cool. Brands need to be a bit more conscious with the way that they incorporate pushers in. There's all sorts of nice approaches. Cartier actually has some amazing stuff. Fortis Pilot. Let's have a look at that. Chrono. I really like the fact that we're sticking to chronographs tonight. Fortis has some great stuff, and I think this is the one watch that people generally jump to. I mean, I think there was a video done by Revolution Watch recently where the owner, he's a big Panerai guy, but he loves his Fortis pieces. He's in the DEA and he uses it on the range. It's just a very versatile, easy to wear piece. Has that Sinn quality to it, right? It's pretty sweet. Curtis, bring up the Sinn 103. I actually discussed the Sinn 103 earlier. Jeez. Okay, stop tagging IDGuy in the comments. I can't keep up, guys. This is insane. I've got like 18 IDGuys I've got to catch up with, and it's a disaster. Okay, the Sinn 103. Okay, well, since we're talking about the Fortis piece, we might as well bring up the Sinn 103 as well. Look at that movement. Utterly gorgeous. Sinn 103 again. And these two watches are basically paired off in the way that they approach the design. Again, Sinn, contrast, black and white, looks great. Fortis, contrast. It's almost like Fortis were trying to profit off the speedy Ultraman, and Sinn is just rocking the simple black and white layout. It's too cool. Love it. Okay, I'm going to jump to the bottom of the chat because I'm sure I'm missing so many. Zenith Chronomaster, double split, triple split, VC double split. Jeez, like any kind of split timer is just absolutely ridiculous. No one would ever use them for their intended function. Cheaton, thank you. Longines Grand, which is okay. I'm going to start again. So if I have missed your comment, just keep putting suggestions up as we go. How did I do that? Can I actually switch between? I don't know how I managed to pull that. Did that actually slide the page back? I don't know. So Longines Grand, I'm going to stick to the chat at the bottom of the page. No, not that one. Damn it. Vitesse. I'm completely botching this one now. All these names. Vitesse, not Classique. Jeez, these names, I tell you what, can they get any more complicated? What is that? What is that? What were they thinking with this piece? Does anyone know anything about this watch? Okay. Again, it's down to that initial, greeting. It's very important when you're looking at watches, is when you look at it and you just heard my reaction when I looked at this thing and I said, what is that? The first thing that I see is this 12 and the red pusher and the highlight. I don't know what they were thinking with this piece. It looks so bizarre. It looks like a Tag Heuer from the 90s. Very strange looking piece. Fashion watch, as I mentioned. Yeah, it looks like a fashion watch. You're right. It has, I don't know, it's the proportions. It kind of has that Tissot sort of vibe around it. Longines has made some amazing stuff. I don't know why they added the 12 to the, I'm guessing there's some reason to it. Does the 12 have to do with the name? No. There are better chronographs around, everyone. Okay. Let's see. Jean-Richard Paramount. Proots, I've been neglecting you. I've been pulling your taffy tonight, so I'm going to get this up. Jean-Richard Paramount. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute... Is that it? Is that a chronograph? No, it's not. Is it? I don't know. Oh, I just don't know. It's like a gondola. It's like one of those strange square cases. Oh, here's a chronograph variant. No, man. Some brands just need to slow down. Some brands, you need to just pat them on the back and say, guys, just slow down and rethink it. Get your design team in order a little bit, because that is a... The FP Jaune Centigraph, nice idea. Thank you for the suggestion. And that suggestion comes from Centigraph, Mr. Marcus. This thing is insane. I actually saw it. I follow Tim Mosso on Instagram, and I think he was reviewing this watch recently. How cool is that thing? It's absolutely nuts. When you start the chronograph, this is 36 thousandths of a second. And this thing spins like there is no tomorrow. It's an absolute beast. FP Jaune needs a lot of coverage in the future. And I don't know, I look at this watch and I think nautical in a way. I think nautical clocks that you would have on ships at sea. It's so unique. FP Jaune does some insane stuff. Even the bracelets. I mean, it's so unique. It's not something that everyone will like, of course, but it's Jaune. And, if we know anything about the Chronomètre Bleu, the Jaune pieces, some of them especially, are so eye-catching. I just love the uniqueness. This watch has its identity. And I see some people agree. It's very cool. Faberge Visionnaire Chronograph. Fabergé. Let's have a look at that as well. Thank you for the suggestion, Sean. So it's very cool. And there's so many variants in between. These watches probably cost the same as a house. So they're not exactly the easiest to find. But okay, so the issue with this watch, there is an issue, and that is that it is very much a chronograph first and a watch second. How could this be improved? Jaune, I can just tell, if I put myself in Jaune's brain, he was thinking, I need to celebrate this chronograph as much as possible. And to do that, he added all this crazy subdial configuration. There's so much emphasis on the subdials, and the dial itself in the background has been kind of left behind. And if you really wanted to improve the watch's legibility, what would you do? Simply make the hands black, or I don't know, you'd have to actually do something else. White is, it's a problem, because the hands these subdials take up so much space. You're sort of you're conflicting with the black and white contrast. So you ideally, you'd want to have black and white, like a zebra crossing on the hands. That would look very cool. Kind of like a Omega Aquaterra. Is it the 10,000, what's it, the 15,000 Gauss Aquaterras? If you had a zebra crossing pattern on the hands, I think there would be a much nicer contrast. I want to do a video on this piece. It looks great. I'm sure we'll only get like 50 views because barely anyone knows about this watch, but it's gorgeous. I just love the unique identity behind it, you know. Too cool. Tippy, the A386, spoken about it earlier today. Greetings. Thank you for joining, Gilbert. Welcome. We've been talking about a lot of watches. It's great. We've had such a lot of variety tonight, and it's superb. We've almost been going up for 2 hours. It's coming up to midnight here in the UK. Looks like a fidget spinner. It's a nice shade. You're pretty much bang on there. H. Moser and C. Let's have a look at some more crazy stuff. H. Moser and C, another brand that only a few people really know about. Triple calendar chronograph, cheapers. Let's have a look. Hell, that's cool. That can't be the chronograph? No. This is the problem. When these watches are so unique, it's very difficult to find. It's very difficult to find the watch you're looking for. Is this the piece you're suggesting? Somehow I doubt it. It doesn't look like a triple calendar chronograph at all. Yeah, it's difficult. The more convoluted the watch and the brand, the harder it is to find what you're looking for. It can be very irritating, trust me, with high-res images and stuff. So, just seeing what else is going on here, talking about FP Journe. Pre-Daytona Cosmographs. Okay, let's pull that up. Since we're on to a few vintage pieces, let's see. Pre-Daytona Cosmograph. I love the story behind the Cosmograph. This is the failure of getting to the moon. I think of all of them, this variant, this is a very rare variant, by the way. It's only like one of a few sold, double Swiss underline. There is an appeal to these watches, and they simply called them pre-Daytonas because there was no Daytona affiliated to the watch yet. And to reach the American market, they decided to name them Daytona and not Le Mans. It's quite a cool story. I don't think Le Mans would have anywhere near the same amount of pull as Daytona. But some of these watches are very peculiar, very difficult to read. You know, it's that 60s styling. If we know that the time period was, you know, they didn't know what they were doing with chronographs. Rolex were very much just, you know, for lack of a better word, shooting the breeze and hoping they would get something. But, you know, it's cool. It's a pretty cool watch. I'm not such a fan of the silver on silver. It's a bit too much in your face, you know. Shelby, terrific IG, the Journe identity. Ooh. Now they should have followed them. I should have a look. Thank you for the suggestion. Why don't Rolex make the Daytona more legible? Okay, let's have a Daytona discussion quickly. 116-500 LN. I've mentioned this a few times. I'm sure some of you are new to the page, so you might be interested in this discussion. This was one of the first videos I actually did on the watch, and I spoke about basically how the design of the Daytona has changed. So let's just jump back to Paul Newman's Daytona, 6239. So this approach of having the subdials laid out, this is actually quite an important. We're getting into presentation mode here, everyone, so just sit back for a second while I discuss this. This is my thinking about it, just talking about general design, layout, and everything else. I'm missing a lot of chats. I've deliberately paused the chat so I can just keep this going. So the original Daytonas, their approach was to make the watch as easily legible as a functioning tool in a car when you're on the sidelines using this as a lap tracking device. So the emphasis, when you look at this watch, the emphasis is on it being a chronograph first and a watch second, okay? So bear that in mind because it's much easier to see the subdial. I mean, hell, look at that. What do you see first and what do you see second? So my thinking is these original chronographs, of course, it was all just guesswork. They were just playing around with ideas, trying to get something viable. This watch was very much a chronograph first and a watch second in the way it was implemented. The way that the new pieces have been implemented, they're trying their best. And the reason why they've hollowed out the subdials, first, it is a unique identity that Rolex is trying to play with. It's a nice balance and it takes off the visual weight. That's the most important thing. There's so much visual weight set on these subdials, which draws your eye to them so easily. So for a functioning chronograph, it's great. But when you want something that's easier to tell the time, you want to take the presence away. So you lessen the amount of fill inside the subdials. So this has been their trademark. And they've done a really good job with regards to the watch's legibility. I mean, it is a much easier watch to read. Now that they've fattened up the plots, they've actually added dark inserts inside the hands. It's an easier watch to read. It's still not perfect, but compared to the original watch, I don't know, it's difficult because you can also say the size and scale of the plots really brought the presence down, and it was a bit easier to see the hands. But I stick by the statement that this watch is very much a chronograph, and this watch is trying to be able to blend the two. And for that reason, they've done quite a good job on it. And I always stick to the Panda because the Panda is just, I find it to be a bit more visually approachable. But it's still, the black on black looks great. It's a nice combo. It's a superb everyday wearing watch. Okay, I've probably missed about 50 comments. I'm going to jump to the bottom. I'm sure there's been lots and lots of chats going on here. Talking about lapis lazuli and everything, chronograph, but Pelagos versus North Flag. Two very different watches, Mr. Marcus. I think the Pelagos is a better option as an everyday wearing piece. The North Flag has, you know, it's like comparing a Submariner and an Explorer. They are so different. Reasonably priced chronograph timepieces like Zenith, El Primero, Longines, Big Eye, both a column wheel. They are great pieces, Gilbert. Thank you for the comment. I've spoken about them both tonight. This chat's been going on for almost 2 hours. We've covered that in detail. It's been a really great just dialogue tonight. And Thomas, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Thomas is the #1 guy on any watch channel. Thanks for giving us what we want yet again. Have a drink on us. Thank you so much, Thomas. That'll probably be going towards a train ticket on Wednesday. I've got a big day on Wednesday. It's just cool. Darth Vader. That's a very nice, Eric Bell. Nice description. It is, and I think it's down to that the white on white, white on black, and the way that they've actually diffused the brightness of the subdials makes it easier to read at a glance as well. Modern Daytona fashion statement. First, chronograph. Second, Cheetown. Good one. So Cheetown has a fair lady. Wow, that is a killer car. Very, very cool. Oh, my imaginary fair. Okay, I'm just catching up. Clive, welcome to the show. Great to have you here, sir. I saw that you were out with your daughter tonight, and your watch pretty much inspired the discussion tonight. And it's the 806. I have been discussing the watch at length. I did earlier, I should say. It is absolutely amazing how much they got these watches right. You know, bang on. If you hear my laptop whirring away in the background, don't worry about it. It's trying to keep up with all the chats. Okay, so I compared this watch to, we were just looking at the Paul Newman. I was comparing this watch to the Air Command Blancpain. I always seem to like comparing these two because they're both new releases. So we're sort of jumping back to the beginning of the chat this evening. And let's have a look at these two. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat. We're talking about Paul Newman's. Okay, so let's just recap what happened earlier in the stream. We were talking about the Navitimer and the Air Command. And this is a good time to actually talk about chronographs. It's all well and good talking about our favorite chronographs, but the question is, what makes a good chronograph? You want it to be legible, easy to read. You want it to be functional and appropriate for every day. And when I see this watch, I find it to be something a lot more appropriate in the way it's been laid out, at least, than the Navitimer, which is a little, I mean, we talk about complexity, slide rules. I don't know if anyone knows how to use slide rules, but like Hans says, it's a bit too busy. But I think just the fact they've been able to recreate this watch so well. On the left is the original, the right is the reissue. Beautiful use of the logo. And in this way, the way that they've actually implemented the numerals and the hands, the watch is very easy to read. And that's something to be given to the watch in its favor compared to the more original pieces where you have batons and everything else. I mean, that is very difficult to read in comparison to the latest versions. Much easier to read in the way it's been laid out like this. And I just, Of course, these are flyback chronographs. They're stupidly expensive, unattainable. They've all been sold out by now. But I love the fact that you have a standard countdown timing bezel. It's actually in the reverse. So, like, you know, back in the day, in the in the 50s, they were still trying to work out what bezels were for. So, you know, but there's this clash. You need to have complexity and simplicity together. And I just get the idea that this simplicity would make the reading experience better. But then at the same time, when you have a Navi timer like this, there's just so much stuff you can look at. And you have all these little numerals. I don't even know what's going on here. We've got 1 minute 10, 1 hour 20, 30. I have no idea how to use a slide rule. Okay, there's been questions about, let's see, the A386 lapis lazuli. Might shock me. Let's have a look at that. The A386 lapis. Oh, wow. I think, this was a one-off platinum. Wow, that is amazing. Did they actually use a lapis lazuli stone for the dial? That's beautiful. It's very striking, a bit too bright, but it's that contrast that looks so cool. Again, with the faux patina, all of these brands are doing the same thing. You know, they're all trying to implement this faux patina with their dials, and it's working. I mean, what's nice about it is it does add that little touch of different contrast. Oh, look at these. Look at these. These are both reissues. I mean, this could end the stream tonight. That's just so nice and clean. Absolutely love it. Blue dial is gorgeous, though. It really does stand out. And when it comes to faux patina, it's nice when it's implemented very mildly. Like here, we can see, I don't know how well this is coming up on your screens, but we can see just how clean the patina. It's almost like a skin tone, a white skin tone, as opposed to this bright orange. It's subtle, you know. It's not fauxtina. I love fauxtina. It's such a nice word. I think Cara Bennett from Dinky patented that word. Oh, look at them. Zenith and the El Primero. And as much as I like the tricolors, I think there is something about just the standard layout of these pieces. Oh, the CK2988. Let's have a look at that. That's a great watch. Love it. I was actually trying to get it earlier. So dig this. Of all the new re-releases this year, that layout is something else. Okay. So I actually wanted to find that reference. CK2998. I'm guessing this is the blue with the racing strap. Yeah. What I like about this watch, again, we're going back to the reissues. There's no patina, no faux tina on this watch, which is great. What I like about this piece is just the sheer selection of elements. We have the leaf-styled hands. We have a nice lollipop on the chronograph hand. So it's a lot easier. I mean, in the dark, it would be awesome to watch. You can actually watch the hand working in the dark. If I'm not mistaken, the bezel looms itself. Love the blue on white. Love the broad minute track that approaches the dial. And the nice thing is that the minute track actually compresses the overall size. It gives you a much smaller sort of visual presence on the wrist, even though the watch is pretty large. And then we jump to the more typical version, which is just red on black. Again, contrast. It's what you want from a chronograph. So I think we are in agreement that contrast is one of the aspects that's very important. You want to be able to see the watch at a glance easily. All of these pieces do that pretty well. I just love it. There's some beautiful chronographs out there. 39 mils. Thank you for that, BS. Okay, so we're still rocking some really nice pieces. I can't believe we've managed to stick to the subject tonight. We've gone everywhere from Jean to Lunga to Patek to Omegas, Zeniths, the whole deal. Zonda, I'd love your opinion on the Graham Chronofighter nose art. It's quite quirky. Yeah, contrast. I mean, that's it, Clive. It's all the chronograph needs. It's not rocket science. You just want something. I mean, at a glance, you can look at that. You can tell the time pretty easily. You can read the chronograph very easily, and It's all that matters. And again, the Navi Timer has that. The highlight of the Fotina on the watch makes the reading experience nice and easy. But it is very busy. I mean, it's one hell of a busy watch. Okay, so Zonda gives me a question about the what's it called? The Graham Chrono Fighter nose art. What could that be? What in Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've hit rock bottom for this evening. That is wow. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Okay. What were they thinking? So I'm guessing it's a mono pusher chronograph. They're saying it's a nose art because it's the kind of art you would see on the front of aeroplanes. My honest opinion, it looks like a U-boat. That is so cool. So you basically have air hostesses. Oh, that's awesome. So this is Sally. This is what? This is Lily. How cool is that? Okay, I dig it. I like this. This is cool. That's Kelly. Okay. I think that's really cool. We have Mina. What an insanely strange piece. I like, personally, I like Lily. I think Lily looks cool. That is, okay. I like that effect. I like the idea that it's in this family and they're all different watches with different girls on it. That's cool. But it reminds me, I'll take Kelly. That is so funny. Okay, so I get the feeling of U-boat when I see this, just because of all of this stuff. It's a little bit too much, but I do like the graphical layout. I think it's very cool. Sally is nice with the black on. That's cool. Okay, we've basically hit rock bottom with this watch. So pure madness, Shelby. Yeah, I agree. This is the most bizarre chronograph I've seen. I mean, there are some insane, crazy watches out there. I just don't know. U-boat. I get that feeling. Okay, so we have a Chronomaster 2. Is a new Zenith classic generation. Are there any other suggestions in other fields? We've looked at quite a few Zeniths this evening with regards to the El Primeros, the Flyers, Longines Big Eye. We've had a look at Ulysses Nardin, make an erotic chronograph. I'm sure they do. Lip Mark 2000, designed by Roger Talon. Let's have a look at that. Who was that suggestion by? Lip Master Chronograph. Is that how you spell it? Oh, Mark 2000. 2000. Oh, my soul. Okay, actually, this is very much Bauhaus inspired by the way they've used just the colors. One thing, the skittle sort of hand that pushes. That's kind of cool. Very playful. I actually dig it. I think it's it's a nice looking design. It gives me that kind of brawn design feel. But it looks like you've got sweets on your wrist, you know? What is the thinking behind this? Who thought this would be cool? Who actually woke up with the idea and said, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I mean, I love the dial layout. It's nice and simple, easy to read, but yeah. Let's stick to the more traditional pieces. These are just bizarre. That's different, Justin Bailey. It's a nice way of putting it. I don't think I'll be looking at erotic watches, Jamie, but just for the sake of the stream getting jumped on by, looks like something Dieter Rams would design. Cheetown, you're right. Dieter Rams, crazy history, and Braun makes some cool looking watches. I'm actually one of the companies that I'll be working under if I get this new role. I've got a big interview at the middle of this week. This was my first watch I ever bought, and it's just so clean. It's actually beautiful. It's just too simple for my tastes. I learned very early on that these watches, these Bauhaus inspired watches, are just too simple for me, and I need something a bit more complicated. Holy watch, Batman. Tudor Heritage Chrono Blue. Let's pull that up. I'm guessing, let's have a look, Heritage Chrono. Is that the Monte Carlo? I'm guessing it's the Monte Carlo reference. I find this watch a little bit strange, and one part that I'm quite disappointed with is that they didn't put a Cyclops on the date window at the 6. I think that's one of its, whoops, shouldn't have done that. I think that's one of its defining characteristics, is that this original watch needed a Cyclops. I'm not a fan of a Cyclops at all, but I think it's just the character of the piece. I mean, here's the original next to the reissue. There's something so cool about a Cyclops at the 6. It's nice and clean. It's very interesting in its stance. And I mean, you just look at the way the bezel knurling has been done on the original compared to the reissue. There's a few slight differences in a few places. I like the fact that they didn't go with faux patina on the dial, which is quite cool. Shelby with a suggestion of the All Blacks, Black Bay. I looked at that earlier, part of the stream. It's amazing. We've covered so many watches tonight. It's awesome. All Blacks, come on. And they're just going to give me the standard. Here we go. So I discussed this in the very beginning of the stream. I really like the PVD on these watches. I think gives it the watch. It really gives the watch that Darth Vader sort of mean, aggressive look. But the thickness of the watch on the wrist. Paul Thorpe did a video on this piece recently. The thickness is quite horrifying and strange. I mean, why would they? I just don't understand. They really should focus on scaling the watches down a little bit. And maybe bringing the watch's overall presence down to maybe 39. Personally, that's my opinion. Again, I say the one thing I always modify on these watches is the pencil hand. I don't really like the snowflake. I prefer a pencil layout. Really cool looking watch though. Dig it. Let's see. There's probably more chats going on that I'm missing. Elaine Silverstein. How do you guys know these pieces? That's what I want to know. Tudor Tiger green dial. Let's have a look at that. Oh geez, I don't know how you guys. Oh wow, this was during Tudor's, heyday, Prince date. What were they thinking? This looks like a Heineken bottle, right? This time in Tudor's line is something that is everyone wants to forget in many ways, but it's just bizarre, strange looking watch. That has got to be. Looks like a Heineken bottle. Again, I'll emphasize. Giugiaro Machina. We had a look at Giugiaro earlier. The Omega Broad Arrow. Jamie Y. Great suggestion. Let's have a look at that quick. Just the 1957, right? I think it's the Speedy. Oh, just the standard. Okay, there's lots. I forget. There's lots of variants in the line. I mean, there's some great references. Look at that. Look how simple that is. Simple layout, easy to read. I'm guessing it's automatic, easy contrast, nice and striking. There are some really nice broad arrow versions of this piece on the market. I think this is the 57 reissue. I like the 57 Speedmaster. It is pretty cool. And yeah, we've done pretty well tonight, everyone. It's been a 2-hour session. We've covered so many pieces. So what I'd like to do, I want to actually end the stream in and around now. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a rapid fire. I would like to know all of the pieces. Hi, Sally. I'd like to know all of the pieces that you like. Once again, going back to the beginning of the stream, talking about what are your favorite chronograph watches. I'd be interested in knowing what yours is. Chuck that in the comments, and I'm just going to pull some up. We run through them for the next few minutes, and then I'll call the stream a day. I definitely don't want to be dragging this on for like 6 hours like the other time. So keep going till the darkest stream, Jimmy. Yeah, I will keep going for a little while. The 6263, let's pull that up. We're just going to pull up as many references as we can. There's so many references in this line, though. Be more specific. The Big Eye, that's a great piece. AP Offshore Survivor Chronograph. That's just nuts. I don't know if anyone's seen this before. Offshore Survivor Chronograph. This is just absolute nut. I mean, it looks cool. It looks like a Lamborghini in many ways. It's like the real Arnold watch after Arnold. I mean, that looks like the compensator on the end of a barrel. And just like the billets on the, I mean, it's just ridiculous. What were they thinking? The A384, let's have a look at that quick. 8384. That is a timeless, beautiful piece. I've covered it a lot. I think it's absolutely stunning. The size, proportions, look at that piece on the wrist. I mean, it's so clean and simple. Alain Silberstein chronograph from Zonda. Royal Oak Chrono, 5170. Oh, it's too cool, guys. We've really done a great job tonight just sticking to chronographs. I'm actually so impressed that we managed to keep on tonight and actually just run through them. So we're going to look through all these pieces. I'm just going to pull in some more pieces. Montoya Daytona. And that's the, I did a video about that a couple of days ago. This is from Artisans de Genève. Really, I highly recommend you look at the video if you haven't seen it already. I cover the designs of these pieces and they are really, really something cool. 321 Speedy Pre-Moon. Oh, can we do GMT next? Yeah, absolutely, Tippy. Great idea. I'd love to do it. Zonda, what did you say? Sorry, I missed you. Alain Silberstein chronograph. How do we... I mean, you got to give me some credit. I've never heard of hardly any of these pieces in my life. I'm just rolling with the punches. Is this the watch? Oh, okay. I know this brand. Very experimental, and of course, all the images are 300 pixels in size. I mean, what's the thinking there? Oh yes, that's the winner. It's that approach to watchmaking that is unique and different and playful and fun, very much like an art piece. I see this and I think sculpture. Very, very strange. Thomas Burnett with his Blancpain. Only watch Blancpain chronograph, and we'll pull up all of these pieces just to browse through them as the stream comes to an end. What did you say? It was the missed it. Damn it. Air Command. Oh, geez. I am useless with this half the time. No, I've just botched it. I've just botched it again. This is my winner of the evening, by far. I think it's such a stunning piece. If the internet decides to load. So many. There's 321 Speedies. It's too cool, guys. We've done a great, great job tonight. Such cool watches we've looked at. So just before we close off the stream, we're going to just browse through these watches and end everything off. I think the VC Overseas, there's been talk about this a lot. The chronograph, absolutely beautiful. Love the colors. 6263 Daytona, depending on what you like, the big eye, the standard RCO. There's so many references in that line. If you prefer the standard Paul Newman, one hell of a cool looking watch. A384, love the proportions. The Panda aesthetic again, it's just timeless, simple, easy. The 5170 is just, it's one of those perfect chronographs. It has that beautiful dress appeal. Excellent for, it has a very sports watch feel to it, and that's what really makes it win. Montoya Daytona, skeletonized. Love the striking contrast between the subdials, the color choices, just the simple thought of removing a dial and putting more emphasis on the movement. It's absolutely gorgeous. This piece is very much an experimental piece. Looks like an art exhibit. Stunning as well. Then we jump to the Air Commando. I think it is beautiful. One of the best reissues that any watch brand has covered this year. And there was mention about the G381. One of my, if I wanted to finish my watch collecting career one day, G381 El Primero would probably be it. Preferably with a tobacco dial. Oh, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I think that's us for the evening, everyone, or the morning, or wherever the hell you are in the world. It's been an insane, insane show. And I'm sure I've missed a lot of your comments, but you guys have been great. The dialogue has been superb. So I'm going to pull this up, just jump to back here, stop sharing the screen. I want to thank you all for joining us. It's been, or me, it's been 2.5 hours tonight. Great show. I've had such a good time. We've jumped through so many pieces and really appreciate it. I love the dialogue, love sharing this stuff with you all. Next week, we can do GMTs. That is an awesome idea. Thank you, Tippy. Absolutely. And we can jump through the Explorer lines, all of those. Be so cool. Thank you, everyone, for wishing me good luck in my interview. I am nervous but excited. It's going to be a great opportunity. If I get it, it'll be a a big moment in my career for sure. And I'll be sure to tell you all about it once, if it goes through, and I'll let you know how it all went. I'm also celebrating a birthday next week, Friday. Might have a birthday stream. I don't know. But thank you everyone again. It's been so cool. You guys are great. I love the community. These streams, it just makes this experience so good. We can all just chat about watches, enjoy ourselves. So thank you everyone. Go into Archie's stream now. Enjoy yourselves. I might join you. It's only 12 o'clock in the UK, so that's cool. If you want to shoot me an email about anything, my link to my email is in the description of this video. Otherwise, it's just, I'll write it here for you if you're interested. And it can be anything. It can be collection related. It can be talking about things, how watches are, what it means, all of that. I enjoy it. I don't know how good I'll be with responding. I'm not the most accurate responder, but I can only try. It's been great, guys. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one. Cheers for now.